Breaking news. The assassination of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. It happened around 6:40 a.m. Wednesday, the 4th of December 2024, outside the New York Hilton in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, before the sun had even risen. Mr. Thompson, who is from Minnesota, was actually in New York on a work trip where he was due to speak at a conference for an investors meeting. But he would never make that conference, nor did he make it back to his family. But why? Brian Thompson was 50 years old when he was brutally gunned down in New York City on 6th Avenue. He was head of the healthcare insurance division at the United Healthcare, where he had worked for nearly 21 years. He was married to his wife Paulette, and he had 2 sons. Over in New York City with work, he was actually staying at a hotel not far from the shooting location. Walking alone without any of his security, unfortunately, Brian was a sitting duck for this scumbag to unleash a hail of bullets. It seems he was shot at least 3 times. He was first hit in the back of his calf, where it was said that Brian actually turned to face his shooter before receiving another 2 shots to his chest and back. Which makes me think, did the shooter want him to see his face, or just see him in general before he killed him? As in, know he was murdered for a reason, to send a message, as this was clearly extremely personal. Although I don't believe that the male subject who shot Mr. Thompson was the one with the personal vendetta, but instead someone used to do the dirty work. This person is still at large after quite calmly fleeing the scene following the brutal assassination, where he was said to have then left the area and used a city bike to travel to Central Park. But during his escape, he apparently dropped a water bottle he had purchased at a nearby Starbucks only 30 minutes prior to the shooting, which could provide vital DNA evidence to help identify the suspect. There has also been various photo releases of this prick, even one of him smiling before the attack. Actually quite clear photos of his face. Someone must recognise him. There is already a $10,000 reward for any information at all in this case. Call Crime Stoppers on 1-800-577-8477. Brian is seen on street CCTV walking alone down 6th Avenue. It's early morning and Mr. Thompson probably believed he was completely safe to walk by himself at this time in the morning, but clearly this wasn't the case. As from nowhere, a gunman appears from behind 2 parked cars, brazen as fuck, wielding what seems to be some sort of pistol, handgun with a silencer on it. I mean, I have no clue about guns, just from playing like Call of Duty and games like that really, plus the shows I watch. But I'm obviously British, so I don't know much about guns. He fired at least 3 rounds into the CEO of the health insurance division, where it even jammed or malfunctioned during the attack. But this gunman actually managed to correct this and continue fire on the defenseless man now lying on the floor. And I do know it's not an easy thing in a tense situation when a gun jams to fix it and continue shooting so quickly, which makes me wonder, how skilled was this man? Yeah, his gun jammed, but I know that can just happen anytime. But his correction of this issue was quite impressive and shows skill and gun knowledge. He then quite calmly leaves the scene where there were multiple witnesses. If you look closely, you can even see on the CCTV someone standing in a doorway right where the shooter unloads. But he doesn't eliminate these witnesses. He just murders the man he came for and left. It was said he lay in wait for at least a few minutes, or maybe even longer, just waiting for Brian to approach. Which begs the question, how the fuck did he know precisely where Brian would be? It may not have been too hard to follow the fact that he was travelling to New York City for the conference, and maybe even which hotel he was in. But how did this man know exactly where and when Brian would be walking alone to prepare? So far, the police have not released or given any clues for a motive behind the attack. But this was clearly a well thought through, planned ambush on this man. Even down to him knowing exactly where Brian would be, on the exact street at the exact time. Really screams inside job, or at least knowledge, to know such details, I believe anyway. It seems extremely organised and could be a hired killer, but his gun did jam. But again, that doesn't mean anything, anyone's gun can jam, so. But was he really a professional hitman? What do you guys think of this? Obviously, I've said I don't know much about guns personally, but I would love to know others' thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments. Does he look and act like a professional hitman? Most certainly, I feel at the bottom of this somewhere is a very disgruntled and unhappy person seeking personal revenge upon Brian Thompson. Perhaps someone who had bad surgery or didn't receive compensation they felt they deserved. Maybe. Definitely a very personal vendetta, either way, whatever the reason. Only the other day, I happened to watch a video of a man who had been left in 24/7 pain since poor back surgery years before, which also left him taking up to 60 tablets a day just to cope with the pain. He even went to the effort of making homemade bombs, which he took with him to the place he had surgery. But this older gentleman was not well informed or organised, as the one person he wanted to seek revenge over wasn't even there in the building that day. I think he was on holiday or something. So instead, he injured multiple people and killed a completely innocent female in the process. Then he just surrendered to the police, even calling them personally, so he was then placed behind bars. Now that was even quite thoroughly planned by putting together the bombs himself and etc. Yet he really had no real endgame or clear strategy. He was just a really ill, in pain and fed up man wanting his revenge for bad surgery, so the message was clear, but the real target was not hit. Whereas this attack on Brian was much more planned and better organised. A clear assassination. He was methodical, he knew where his man would be and at what time. He did the job and left. Which makes me think, the guy who did do the actual shooting is not the person behind the attack on Mr. Thompson and seeking personal revenge. Even down to the shell casings left on scene, which also seemed to be personal, as they were left lying beside the dead CEO. But not just that, they were all engraved too. There were 3 shell casings in total. One read, defend, another said, deny, and the third said, depose. These words may have been some sort of reference to strategies that insurance companies used to try to avoid paying claims. The words were not far from a 2010 book that bashes the insurance industry, which is actually entitled Delay, Deny, Defend, which is very close. And remember, the gun did jam. So can someone who knows about guns please answer me this? If a gun jams, do you have to extract that bullet and use a different one in place of it? Or could the same bullet be used that jammed? Because that could have changed what words were left on the scene. Please, someone answer me this. These shell casings were left on purpose for attention and to send some kind of message for sure. So the connection here does seem to be relevant. Seeing as Brian was the CEO and the head of the health insurance division at United Healthcare, I would be seriously shocked if this wasn't someone behind the brutal assassination of Mr. Thompson who was unhappy with either him or exactly what and who he works for and stands for. It's so incredibly personal and well planned. I also feel that some inside information was leaked, which led to the gunman knowing Brian's precise location when he would be walking alone without his security protection. It's all too perfectly executed. Well, besides the water bottle he left behind. Oh, and showing us all these great shots of his mug. I mean, we can clearly see his features. We have an expression without smiling, and his smiling expression. Someone's going to recognise him. Come on, someone knows something. I do feel that reward money needs raising, and I reckon it will be. As just think how much money people who are involved in such a plan really get paid. A fucking lot. A hell of a lot more than $10,000. Surely, the huge company he worked for will want to raise funds to help solve this horrific cold-blooded assassination in front of multiple witnesses. Wouldn't they? Calls were placed to emergency services 2 minutes after the shooting, and police arrived on scene minutes later. A police call said, "Male shot 1235 6th Avenue," with a description of male, unknown race, 5'10", cream jacket, black mask, black gloves. What he had been seen wearing in the coffee shop CCTV before he headed off to end the life of a husband and father. You know what really got me, guys? I saw this. Right, this next bit is going to be quite hard to watch this footage, but I just want to show this bit of footage because it clearly shows here these police officers trying to resuscitate Mr. Thompson. But they really actually, to me, show quite minimal effort right up until, especially this one that seems to be doing the CPR, right up until the emergency services turn up to scene. Even to the point where they haven't actually secured the scene, the very small area where this man is being shot down dead. Because this guy's just seen walking straight past. Just like, what the hell's going on here then? What? There's all these officers around and none of them have got some tape or even just a voice to make sure that the scene's cornered off. I'm sorry, I just had to point that, I just had to drop that in there. Because that to me was just a bit like, it just breaks your heart, doesn't it, when something like that happens and the response is so minimal. Anyway, Brian's wife Paulette has actually since confirmed he had been receiving threats before, but gave no actual details on the matter, and it seems as though Brian had not been taking these threats seriously. So that comment has opened a few doors. Someone clearly wanted revenge upon Brian, and if he was receiving threats, why was he walking the streets of New York City alone like that? Many questions, which I believe will be answered in time. Paulette Thompson left a tribute to her husband saying, "Brian was a wonderful person with a big heart and who lived life to the fullest. He will be greatly missed by everybody. Our hearts are broken and we are completely devastated by this news. He touched so many." I must say, I'm quite shocked his wife has already released such a tribute so soon. I really don't think I could do that, and I haven't been married for like 20, 30 years with 2 kids. Looking at the photos of this killer and the footage, I don't personally believe that he is some sort of trained assassin. Yes, he knows guns, but I reckon he's just some sort of scumbag who has been paid off to do this by someone who needed personal revenge and had a huge grudge against Mr. Thompson for whatever reason. It could be linked to his job role, especially with the shell casing messages left behind, but that could also be a smart ploy. This could even be to do with his personal life. Who knows yet? But someone knows something. Someone will know this prick's face, and I'm sure $10,000 would really help. You may just recognise him from school or a neighbour of yours. I mean, you can stay anonymous. Just please, if you know anything at all, call Crime Stoppers on 1-800-577-8477. Tips. Do the right thing. No one deserves this. Unless he's some sort of child abuser, of course. But he didn't deserve such a death. My heart goes out to all of Brian Thompson's family and loved ones, especially his 2 sons. Thank you for being here and watching. For more true crime, murder and other random content, please like this video, drop me a little comment and subscribe for more. Thank you all. Random Gem.